Hey, joining us now on the Marmy Rock Show, I am so pumped to have Danny Vaughn back on the show. It's been a while since we had Danny, but there is some big news over here in the States about Tyketto. Danny, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, big news all over the place.
So I'm really excited. So I looked at Tyketto's Facebook page, and 4 of the dates that you guys have already announced for 2015, we're going to be at 2 of them, and I want to talk about both of them today. So that's the Monsters of Rock cruise. But first, let's talk a little bit about the M3 Festival. What does that mean to you guys?
Well, I mean, it's an amazing thing that Tyketto, while it's been kind of slow, Tyketto has been ongoing. Well, we reunited in 2004, so, it's been going since then, but we've almost not played America at all, except to do 1 or 2 local shows where we're from in the New York, New Jersey area, just to kind of, tune ourselves up and that sort of thing. So M3 is kind of like, it's that you can't ignore that we're back anymore, and we are an American band, and we should damn well be playing in America. So it's a real big deal. Obviously it's quite a big festival, and the first kind of pat on the back welcome home that we've had.
We are super excited to have you back. Now, going back, and I don't honestly expect you to remember this, but between being in Wasted and Vaughn and Tyketto, do you remember, have you ever played the Merriweather Post Pavilion in Columbia, or do you not remember because you just too many?
I'm fairly certain that I have not. My experiences in Maryland are, I think, going to be limited to Hammerjacks.
Oh, wow.
And one of those was an evening I'd just as soon forget if I could.
I think a lot of people have evenings like that from Hammerjacks from back in the day.
It's an amazing place, and you weren't anybody if you didn't get to play there. But let's just say that it was funny enough. It wasn't even a gig. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but it was because when I was with Wasted and we were opening up for Iron Maiden. Now, I can't remember where we played, but Hammerjacks had a come to meet Wasted and party on afterwards or something deal. So basically, the guys from Iron Maiden stayed in their hotel rooms, but half the guys in Wasted all came out. And what resulted was this major... It can only be described as a scene from one of the original Mad Max films.
Now, you may or may not know this, but there are going to be a ton of Hammerjacks people at the M3 Festival. They are actually rebuilding Hammerjacks in Baltimore, and there is going to be a booth there and a ton of Hammerjacks people there. So, hey, you never know.
I'm gonna find my way there then, because, I mean, of course... Back then, in the day, you weren't a rock star unless you hooked up with one of Hammerjack's waitresses. That was, required.
You never know. There may be some of them there as well. So,
you never know.
Hey, so let's talk about Monsters of Rock Cruise, too. I'm thrilled to have you back. You were, it was the first time I saw you guys, and I mean this in the best possible way. You were the most pleasant surprise on that ship to me, your band.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I read the reviews, the stuff that you'd put up, and it meant a lot to us. We're always kind of the little band that could, and I think the reason for that is we're very happy that we get lumped in with when people talk about us, they talk about us in the same breath as Winger, as Warrant, as Danger Danger. I mean, that's great. Those are all great companions. They're all people I know very well. And so they're kind of like our graduating class, if you will. The difference is that those guys all have platinum albums under their belts. Tyketto never did. So the fact that we've got this name that persists, despite the fact that there's a whole lot less people own Tyketto albums than own anybody else's, this is kind of what happens. We go in, and you get a lot of people going, yeah, I remember, I saw a picture of them in Metal Edge once, but they don't know anything about us other than that. And Tyketto really cut its teeth on the road, and that's how we've maintained such a really staunch following in Europe, is that the live shows have always been strong. So with the cruise, there were definitely people came to see us because, oh, well, hell, I've heard the name enough, I might as well see if they're any good. And we got phone calls and letters afterwards, and this includes from the people who run the cruise. They were all over us afterwards going, what the hell did you guys do down there? Because, as you know, it's not the best venue to see a show, that particular lounge,
Yeah, it's not, but I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing about that lounge. You're right; it's tough because if you're further back, you really can't see. But the one thing I do love about that lounge is, how often can you walk up to bands that close and just walk up? And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. I know we did that a couple times ourselves, and you're right. I mean, it does have an interesting effect. My wife is particularly fond of LA Guns, and seeing them that up close and easy to hear and everything, and they were spot on down there. But it is tough because if you're not in the front row, you're just seeing everybody's head and neck.
Hey, so I'll tell you, man, as I've been watching you over the last couple of years, you are one of the really best singers out there from that era. How do you take care of your pipes for so many years?
That's really kind of you. Thank you. There's a certain amount of luck, I think, but overall, I think the best way to take care of my voice is to be boring. I rarely drink. It's the occasional social drink, and I think I've never smoked, so that's part of it too. And it's such a trade-off because in a way, you get somebody like. I don't know. I mean, who am I trying to think of now? Nat King Cole. There's an example.
Oh, wow.
Now, Nat King Cole reckoned that he got that wonderful, smooth tone because of smoking cigarettes. It's also what killed him.
Yeah.
So, that trade-off is kind of funny. So, when I was growing up, man, I wanted to sound like Joe Cocker. Now, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I can't. Not with your voice now.
No, I was given a clear, clean voice. So to maintain that, I just kind of do the usual look after yourself kind of things. And to be fair, I mean, I've had a few people say that to me and compare me to some other much bigger and much more well-known singers out there that maybe aren't kicking it like they used to. But you got to be fair about stuff like that. I also never went on tour for a year and a half nonstop. Those things destroy your voice. The fact that Bon Jovi can sing is to me a minor miracle because that guy has been working hard for decades, and that takes its toll. There's no way around it. As great as he is, as much as I love him, we can't expect Robert Plant to hit those Zeppelin notes anymore. If we do, we're kidding ourselves.
Hey, is Tyketto? I love the 2012 Digging Deep album. Are you guys working on new music right now?
Where it's more like in the talking phase, and it's not because we don't want to. Actually, it's just because as Tyketto is not an ongoing full-time band, it's just finding the time slot to do it in, and getting me off my ass to get the writing kind of in gear. It's got to start with me generally. Of course, we've got a new guitarist, Chris Green, who has brought so much new blood and fun and vibrance into the band and made everybody happy about being on tour together again. And it's also kept us thinking, well, let's not just be a nostalgia act. And that's why we put Digging Deep out, because we had music to make. And the short answer is, if I had to guess, I'm thinking 2016 would be, 2016-17 we'll see a new Tyketto album. But also 2016 is the 25th anniversary of our first album.
That's awesome.
So, again, with this really nice little wave of interest we've got going again, the idea is to do the sensible thing, which is to go out and play that album in its entirety next year.
What we got to do is we got to get you on tour over here in the States with Doro and your buddy Johnny D and get a Wasted set out of you guys.
Oh man! Now talk about singing high stuff that you weren't supposed to sing. There you go. Take me back to that. Why don't you?
How are you guys going to prepare your set list for the M3? Are you going to try to? I mean, that's got to be tough to do, to figure out. How much of the old and new do I mix together? What are you thinking about? Or maybe I haven't thought about it.
It is tough. Well, I don't know how long we've got yet. I mean, and I reckon for M3, it's going to be just like it was for last year's Monsters, which is we're just going to kind of be, I think, given an early slot. No one's necessarily going to give us a whole lot of attention initially. So I would say if we got to do a 45-minute set, which I hope it'll be more, but I think that's generally what you're looking at for festivals with the smaller bands, is it's going to have to be just a nonstop punch, punch, punch. I don't even know if I do, much as it's a beloved song, I don't think I'd put Standing Alone in the set, to slow it down. But it would be Don't Come Easy heavy, because it's the album that everybody knows, particularly in America. So I think, we'll just have to sprinkle the other ones in there. But 45-minute set, pretty short.
Man, I actually am kind of hoping you guys are on the side stage, and I'll tell you why. Is because when I've seen a lot of bands that are kind of going through what you guys do, kind of coming back, like last year's Heaven's Edge was there, and Black and Blue only plays a couple shows a year, and that's one on that side stage. The cool thing about it is anybody from out there on the lawn can walk right up front. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with your crowd there, because it's a chance for people who, for lack of a better term, bought the cheap seats to walk all the way up front.
I'm looking forward to that. To me, it's the same principle as the Monsters cruise, which is it's not just about getting out there, doing your show, and then getting back to your cabin and disappearing for 5 days. It's about reconnecting with people that are kind enough to have kept the flame burning for you and remember who you are. And on the cruise, there's no way I see a guy coming and he's got every album I've ever done under his arm, and I'm like, all right, I got to limber up my hand because I'm going to be giving some signing right about now. What it's all about, and it's so amazing to meet those people. And I think I get the same sort of feeling about M3. You just mentioned, the people from Hammerjacks being there. I will be very surprised if I don't run into a whole lot of people that I haven't seen in a good long time, but that I know personally.
I happened to, just by chance, last year on the cruise, be standing in front of your keyboard player and notice what a cool musician he is, what a good singer he is, and then I find out that he's in another band that you sing for sometimes. Tell me how long you and Ged Rylands have been together.
I'm trying to think where I first met Jed. I think it started with Tyketto, which was just, his name has been pushed around quite a bit because he was originally with 10. And I've known those guys for a lot of years, and 10, of course, did really well in Japan and has a great name, and they're still going. And so Jed is one of those guys that gets around, and when he plays with people, they kind of keep his phone number because he can really do the job. And Rage of Angels was his pet project that he'd been working on, his own music for several years. And the first album was one that was... a project is the good word, because there were, 5, maybe 6 singers on it doing different things. So he just flat out asked me if I'd sing on it and if I'd co-write one of the songs with him. And it was just easy to do. Jed is an incredibly nice guy, a very, very talented musician, and very, very easy to work with.
Hey, Danny Vaughn of Tyketto, everybody, joining us from Europe by the miracle of Skype here on the show.
That's right.
So,
I know we were talking about the cruise. Is the word out about the? I'm doing some shameless self-promotion.
Oh, do it, man, do it.
Is the word out about the pre-cruise party on the 17th?
I believe it is, but if you want to go ahead and pitch it, go for it right now.
Well, it was just such a great thing, and I'm not ashamed to say that it was our idea. We called them up and said, listen, one of the things that happened that was such a great reaction from last year's cruise is a lot of people wrote in and said, please, not only please bring Tyketto back, but please put them on a bigger stage. So, we've still got our fingers crossed for that my desire is to be on the pool stage, of course. But we just kind of volunteered about 2 months ago and said, listen, what can we do to do one of those pre-cruise shows that they do at the casino?
Yeah.
Because those are awesome, and those are open to the general public. And again, when you're a small band like us, being seen by as many people as you can, I got a lot of people writing in, say, oh gosh, I live in Florida, I'd love to see you play, but I couldn't do the cruise, or I didn't have the money. Well, now if you're in the Miami area, you can, because on the 17th, we're going to be opening for Stryper.
Hey, Danny, man, so glad to talk to you again. Thanks so much for being on the show, and we'll see you on land and at sea in a couple months.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, and we'll see you in Florida.